All right, everybody, welcome to Swift Solutions' first live, second overall webinar. Today we're going to be talking about improving CAD efficiency with 3D Experience. But first, we're just going to go through introductions. My name is Matthew Fontana, and I am the application engineer for Swift Solutions, and we are joined by Stephen today. Would you like to introduce yourself, Stephen?
Well, of course, Matt. My name's Stephen Wieringa. As some of you might know, I run a small engineering firm here in West Michigan. We work with local businesses to provide contract mechanical engineering work, whether it's new product development or a large-scale automation. We're able to do the mechanical side of that design, and the majority of our customers and our work is done in SOLIDWORKS. And again, that's mostly mechanical design work. But in addition to that, I get the opportunity and the pleasure to work with Matt at Swift Solutions as well, where we have a passion to help businesses and individuals become future-proof, and excited about our topic today, Matt.
Absolutely. Before we dive too much into the topic, I want everybody to sit for a minute and ask yourself, what do you currently see as your largest inefficiencies when it comes to CAD? Now that minute's up, we got a lot to cover, so we don't have too long of a minute for you to think, but
might even have a chance to think, Matt.
we've got I feel like a lot of people will think, how do I optimize my mouse clicks? How do I get the absolute most efficient modeling process? And while that is really important, there could be some massive gaps in your entire workflow, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today with aspects such as CAD administration, team collaboration, data management, and CAD tools. So instead of just how to optimize your modeling process, how can you modelize your entire workflow when dealing with CAD software in general? Starting off, we're going to start with CAD administration, and we're going to focus on the installation and management. On this slide here, I'm going to have a video showing a recording where I went through and assigned the SOLIDWORKS to myself and downloaded it, and it has a timer up in the top right to show you how easy it really is. So here you can see that I'm going through, and all it takes is going to the members management and finding the user and filling a checkbox, and SOLIDWORKS is then assigned to that user, and it's a username basis. Whatever computer that user signs into, they have access to SOLIDWORKS. SOLIDWORKS will still have to be installed, but they don't have to worry about any license keys or anything like that. So if SOLIDWORKS isn't installed, it's as easy as trying to open it. It will prompt you with a wizard, and you just follow through the wizard. So while this is going through, talk with you, Stephen, a little bit. How do you see this benefiting users compared to traditional license activation software?
Well, I mean, a CAD admin side, even just working with SOLIDWORKS, we've had some, trials and some opportunities for improvement over the years, just with a small team at Perception Engineering. I mean, we're only running 5 seats of SOLIDWORKS. So a lot of our team is all in the same building. We do have multiple different workstations that they're running on. So sometimes they're running a desktop, or they're having their remote laptop where they're going on site to different clients. So we do have a little bit of back and forth between workstations in that way. And some of the things that we've run into is just your licensing errors. So having to deal with your serial numbers, making sure that everything's set up appropriately to that specific workstation that you're running. And over the last couple of years, we've transferred over to online licensing with SOLIDWORKS. So specifically, we're running different online licenses where our employees have logins, which has really helped with them be able to work from home, jump on their laptop, log in, and then also come back to the workstation that they're running on in the office. But I mean, just the other day I went and looked, and our number one, so we write blogs on the Perception Engineering website, and like our blog that has had the most amount of views over the years has been our troubleshooting of online licensing. So It's definitely come a long way. It's definitely helped, but there's still some quirks with it.
Yeah, and the benefit of having this kind of not only helps in terms of being able to jump from computer to computer, just the time saved without having to deal with the errors, or if somebody runs into a licensing error, that can take up hours, if not a good portion of the whole day. So you lose massive, for all the mouse clicks that you're trying to save, you could lose hours and hours and just waste all of that time when trying to deal with an error that could have been avoided when just having a username, a licensing option like this. So you can see here that it just finished up the download and install, and you can launch it right from the browser, and it is running on your computer, and it will open right up. And that's 16 minutes from going, not even having it assigned, 16 minutes from assigning it and downloading it, installing it, everything like that. And you can see here, this is just a sneak peek. The interface is very, very familiar. If you've used SOLIDWORKS Desktop, it should be very familiar to you. Next up, we're going to talk about team collaboration. And you might not think of this as generally strictly CAD, and depending on your process, it might not really fit into your CAD workflow. You might be working alone, but if you're working with teams on certain projects, even if it's not other CAD users, collaboration can really help you streamline your CAD workflow. In the background here, you're going to see a community in 3DEXPERIENCE where you can talk with your team members in a social media post style. You can post things such as 3D Sketch to help with your innovative thinking early on in the project. You can post questions that can be validated by your team members, and even ideas to help with their own pipeline. You can keep track of where those ideas are. This really helps with innovative thinking and keeps everything organized in terms of collaboration. Back to you, Stephen, on how do you think this could really benefit compared to what you've done in perception engineering for collaboration with your team?
Well, I like where you're going with this, Matt, and we've spent a lot of time just focusing on our workstation, how fast we can model a part, how fast we can draw a part, and trust me, I'm pretty good at it. You're pretty good at it. We've gotten some guys that have just really fine-tuned that process. You throw them into a Model Mania type event, and they're going to crush it, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot more that goes into this, and that's where you're touching on with the collaboration side. And it doesn't matter how fast you draw the part if you don't have the right information to draw that part. So making sure that you have the right access to the right information, design constraints, what your deliverables are, and those are always changing. So from perception engineering, over the last 7-8 years, we've dealt with over 100 different clients on multiple different projects for each client, and every time it's a moving kind of project you start, sometimes the scope changes a little bit, and just making sure that you have the most up-to-date information on what that design needs to look like as soon as possible is huge for efficiency's sake.
Yeah, and it can, like I said, you can save all the mouse clicks you want, but if you do the project wrong, you're going to have to redo it anyway, so there's all that time wasted. So if you're collaborating correctly in the first place, make sure that you're all on the same page, and then you can also do you can post screenshots of your progress right to these communities, so everybody can be on the same page when it comes to as you're progressing. So if anybody sees anything that doesn't seem right, they can call it out right then and make sure that you address it earlier rather than later. And as I missed to mention, you can even do video chats and instant chats. So not only can you do collaborative posts and things, you can talk directly to your teammates right on the platform. And next up, we have data management. 3DEXPERIENCE, you may have heard of Inovia under Dassault Systems. They have the Inovia side of things that handles the data management, lifecycle management. They have brought a suite of tools into the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, and you can use those Inovia-sided tools to keep track of your data. And that here you'll see me going through and showing some of those tools. It's really important to keep track of that kind of revision control, issue management, change action management. Everything like that can make sure that you don't have any miscommunication between your manufacturers and your team is all on the same state. So what about perception engineering? Have you dealt with any revision control issues or anything like that in the past?
Issues, Matt?
Never.
No, never. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, there's definitely opportunity when it comes to rev control. So obviously we're doing mechanical design, contract engineering work. We deal with multiple different customers, which all have their own standards, right? Perception engineering has their own rev control standard in the way that we go through our sign-off process prior to release, redlining, upping revisions. We have our own standard for that, but also each of our customers have their own. So some of the PDM workflows and things like that we've dealt with, all the way down to, hey, you just redline it and then you send it back and forth. Each one has had potential opportunities for improvement over the years, and that's what really gets me excited about implementing this process at Perception Engineering.
Yeah, and some of the benefits is that this all works together. So all of your data is referenced by the same tools. You're not working cross across application to cross application, well, apps on the platform, but not different softwares. So something like the change action, it's linked to the actual part data that you have. So when you're making changes, those changes are tracked. As you can see here in this change action, the changes are tracked there. So, and then you can actually have it automatically release upon approval of that change action. So somebody can review the changes, they approve the change action, it's released. Now you don't have any chance of anybody going back and making changes after it's been released. You have to open up a new revision, and it keeps it very organized and very streamlined. And another aspect of having it all connected to the data is something, for example, like an issue. If you attach an issue to a part on the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, wherever that part is used, that issue is then referenced. It's a one true source of data, so you don't have a lot of disconnected silos. It's all right there on the platform for you to use and keep track of all of the life cycle right then and there, saving you time. And just like every other aspect that we've mentioned today, it's not so much about mouse clicks, but how you can save that time preventing errors or redoing work.
Well, back to redoing work, Matt. I mean, we talked about this the last time we got together and created a webinar, very specifically on data management, just over saving files and, making sure that, you're referencing the right file and you have access to the right information. This data management side is a huge opportunity for improving your efficiency.
Yeah, and not only does your team have access to that, you can share externally with other external stakeholders or manufacturers, and they have access to that true source of data. So you're not sending them a file through email, which then could quickly become outdated. You can send them a link to the actual data on the platform, so they have access to the most recent and up-to-date data all the time. And finally, we're on to CAD tools, and this is where we'll actually discuss how the CAD tools themselves can save you time rather than the actual CAD modeling portion of the CAD workflow. So one of the main components of CAD on the 3DEXPERIENCE platform is 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS, which has 3 offers. We have the standard, the professional, and premium offer, and in each of these boxes under the columns are what are known as roles, which contain apps. The terminology could be a little bit confusing to someone who's new, but don't worry. Think of 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS as a role and the actual SOLIDWORKS itself as an app. You could contain other roles in it, whereas that might have just confused everybody a little bit more. Just just stick to the boxes for now, and then once we get on a call, I'll describe it to you in person in a lot more depth. So 3D Creator is where you can do a lot of the parametric modeling on the cloud, completely on your browser. 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS is the SOLIDWORKS that you're used to, but connected data source to the cloud. Collaborative Industry Innovator is all of those Innovia-sided lifecycle management tools, and the Collaborative Business Innovator is the collaborative side of things. You see the professional offer includes all of the standard offer, as well as 3D Sculptor, which allows you to take care of subdivision modeling on the cloud, completely on the cloud. And then the premium offer has all of those previously listed, as well as 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS Simulation Designer, which would be familiar to anybody who's used SOLIDWORKS Simulation. Is similar functionality to that tool there. So I'll just go through xDesign, xShape, as well as collaborating through all 3 of the 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS, xDesign, and xShape. And here in the background, you can see that the interface, especially the icons, could be quite familiar to a SOLIDWORKS user, and it has a very familiar feel in terms of workflow. But this is on Chrome, so you can do it from any device. You could even do it on your phone if you wanted to, which has some really big benefits in terms of being able to work anywhere and access that data really easily anytime. Would you ever see this potential? What biggest potential would you see for this, Stephen?
Well, I mean, even jumping on site and running, over to clients and doing some quick on-the-floor measurements and concepting is where I can see some exciting benefits of jumping into a cloud-based, solution. I don't want to take my desktop with me on the floor. I can, quickly do some mock-ups and some modeling. And even some of the tools and interface and stuff is very, very similar. So there's opportunities there for sure.
Yeah, and this potentially, depending on your needs in terms of CAD, you could only need this extent of CAD, and you could carry out all of your work strictly on the cloud, and that would prevent the need of you having to buy some powerful desktop computer for your SOLIDWORKS modeling. you could handle it all in the cloud with whatever device you currently have. So it has a wide set of tools. You might not have all of the functionality of SOLIDWORKS, but you can carry on with a lot of the basic parametric modeling tools that you would be used to, such as extrusions, sweeps, lofts, everything like that would be included in the xDesign portion of things. Here we have xShape, and this is where that subdivision modeling comes in. So if you ever need to get nice, smooth looking models for design aspect, this provides a great opportunity to be able to just push and pull and not have to worry about surface constraints. Traditionally would often be done with something like surfacing in SOLIDWORKS, but if you need something really abstract, this creates a really quick way for you to be able to go in, push and pull the model around until it looks like the shape that you'd want, and then you can actually send this, check for manufacturability, and send it off to whether it be 3D printed, injection molded, or anything like that. You see any potential for this, Stephen, in your workflow?
Oh, I mean, getting to that, more industrial final design faster. I know that we've gone through on projects in the past and spent, days going through doing the surfacing, thinking what we, found was a great solution, throwing out a couple, maybe 2 or 3 different concepts in front of the client, and then they're like, oh, now that I see it, maybe something a little bit different, a little bit larger, maybe let's do a little bit here. And anyone that's done surfacing in SOLIDWORKS understands that it's, getting it there the first time's, one thing, and then going back and making some of the changes is just, it's going to take a little bit of time. Where having the opportunity to utilize a tool like xShape to get to that concept with the client faster, I can see huge benefits for sure, Matt.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest benefits is that these tools work so well together. So if you are working with a team, whether you have all of these tools yourself or your team, one person has xShape, one person has xDesign, you can easily pop these in from one to the other and make changes. So you could, if you had a more parametric shape that you wanted to add on to an abstract shape for industrial design, then you could do that with xDesign as well. And that's where the next Go ahead.
Yeah, so 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS Standard Premium Professional. You move forward with 3DEXPERIENCE Professional, both of these xDesign and xShape are just added tools to your toolbox that you can use as you need. You pull out that specific app and you start using it when you need it.
Absolutely, and that leads into this next slide here, is you can have multi-CAD assemblies which easily update their link to each other. So if you were to, you saw that assembly was put together in SOLIDWORKS, but the clips that protected the blades were made in xDesign. We saw that earlier, and that cover was made in xShape. So if you wanted to make changes, you can easily just jump into your browser, make that update, and then it will carry over into SOLIDWORKS as well. So it really makes it easy to jump from app to app as well. After you see this change here, you'll see me switch really quickly to xShape. You might not even notice it if I hadn't mentioned it. And so if you have both of those apps, to jump from app to app is just the press of a key. It's literally the press of a key. So it makes it really easy to work with multi-CAD assemblies rather than having to re-export the step and re-import the file. It makes it really streamlined. Do you have any experience working with multi-CAD assemblies, Stephen, in terms of having to re-export every time?
Well, yeah, definitely. So when it comes to xShape, I have not been able to get in and incorporate this into Perception Engineering's workflow yet, and we are in the process of going through internally and finding the right project to really dig into this and utilize it for a client. And we're excited to be able to tie multiple different apps together and really leverage this. We can see the benefits. It's just a matter of getting in and playing with it.
Yeah, so here you'll see just in a moment here, I will open up SOLIDWORKS again, and you'll be able to see how easy it is to re-reference those files. It's just the matter of reloading from the server. And there you have it. The assembly is now updated with the changes from the cloud. So it's really easy to work with. Depending on how your team has those roles divided up, you are able to work on assemblies together regardless, which makes it really streamlined. So that saves time if you're working with multi-CAD assemblies especially. So that is the main content that we wanted to discuss. Overall, the topics discussed were the CAD administration, so we were able to see how easy it is to assign these roles to users, and you can just access those apps from whatever computer you have without having to worry about license keys or re-administering those license keys. And then we talked about team collaboration, where saving time by going through and collaborating, making sure you're all on the same page before moving through with actually designing the product, and as well as collaborating while you're going through the project to make sure that there's nothing that you want to change that's not missed. And then we talked about data management, making sure that we have our revision control, issue management, change actions, everything such as that is managed through the platform. And then CAD tools. So we have, depending on if you're going with a 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS package, or if you're just going with a 3D Creator, which has xDesign, and 3D Sculptor, which has xShape. Those packages can be purchased separately as well if you only need those capabilities, but you have the potential for all of those to work together with your team. And at the end here, we set aside some time for questions. As you filled out the registration, you had the option to fill out any questions that you had beforehand. We have just a few here, and then in the chat, if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll take the next 10 minutes or so to go through and answer those questions. And if there's any additional questions, we'll be sure to follow up after. And we'll follow up with an email after this, and we can schedule a demo with any of these tools. Whatever you'd like to see, we can customize it for you. So we'll jump into the questions.
Well, I think that's important, Matt, is that we just went through a really high level of some of these tools that are offered with 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS. There's so much there, and it's so exciting as we dig into this and as we start exploring some of these different tools to see the applications with these different businesses and how they're able to implement 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS. It's I already said it, but it's exciting to see how this is going to change the way that people do business and the way that people do design and save their data and collaborate on projects. So yeah, getting into questions. Let's see here. First one you got pulled up. Does 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS use cloud computing?
So this is a more commonly asked question, and I actually put together a slide for this one. So when you're working with cloud connected software or apps, there's thick client and thin client. Thick clients is where the data is connected to the cloud, but the software is installed locally and it utilizes your local hardware. Now, 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS itself is a thick client, so you will still be utilizing your computer's hardware. If you're going to be doing high-end modeling on SOLIDWORKS, you will still want a high-end workstation for that, for that SOLIDWORKS specifically. However, your data will be connected to the cloud. You will always have that revision management, lifecycle management, as well as all the communication tools as well. Now, thin client is where it's primarily cloud-based and there's not necessarily a need for high-end hardware. So that would be xDesign, xShape. You could do that pretty much any computer, Apple, Windows. It will work on phones, tablets, and you can access the data in the same way. There's even touchscreen modes for xDesign and xShape and those X apps that you can optimize the buttons for if you're using a touchscreen device.
So that's why it's still called SOLIDWORKS, and it's called SOLIDWORKS Connected. You know, when you pulled up your model, you saw in the corner that it was still SOLIDWORKS interface, but it said SOLIDWORKS Connected because you're still running SOLIDWORKS on your desktop, but the data is connected to the 3DEXPERIENCE.
Absolutely. So you always have that. It's not like if your internet connection was to dip out, it wouldn't just shut down. However, you would not be able to save your data to the platform. You will need to reestablish the connection. You will need to have a connection to connect to the platform in the first place. Make sure that your data is connected.
Awesome. So jumping to the next question that we got lined up here. Are there any differences between 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS and SOLIDWORKS Desktop?
So yes, there are some differences between 3DEXPERIENCE SOLIDWORKS and SOLIDWORKS Desktop. The main one being that it's connected to the cloud. As you've seen, that data connection requires that internet connection to connect to the cloud. But there are a few differences as well. The interface itself is very similar. You've seen that the interface is nearly identical. However, there is some restrictions such as external add-ins or toolbox, something like that. However, there is ways that you can use it. So it depends on how invested you currently are into what you have. Now, 3D Experience has a vast variety of solutions. So whatever add-in you're looking into, there's likely a solution that would do the same thing. But it's a matter of how invested you currently are into the current solution. And there's definitely ways to work with whichever route you want to go.
Yeah, and I know that even on Swift Solutions website, there's a really good matrix showing some of the advantages and differences between 3D Experience SolidWorks and SolidWorks Desktop, which kind of helps too. And if anyone's interested, I'm more than happy to send over that information for some of those main differences between Desktop and 3D Experience SolidWorks. There are definitely a lot of conversations that we've been having recently. Is this exact one? Like, what are the differences? What are the pros and what are the cons to each for my specific application? And there's some where it's just a clear winner one way or the other. It's just a matter of having that conversation and going through that discovery call and discovery process to figure out which one's best for your business.
Absolutely. And that's why we'll all be setting up demos, right?
Exactly. Do we have time for one more, Matt?
Yep, we can do one more here.
Awesome. Last question then. If I already have SolidWorks Desktop, can I upgrade to 3D Experience SolidWorks, or do I have to buy new?
I'll give the short answer, and then I'll hand this over to you, Stephen, as you're a little bit more in depth on this side of things. But you do not, as of right now, you can upgrade. So take it over, Stephen, with your more in depth.
Yeah, there's actually even some really good opportunities going on right now with value upgrades. So if you are a SolidWorks Desktop user and some of the added efficiencies when it comes to data management, say you're looking at jumping into a PDM type solution, you don't want to go through and do the server setup, and maybe some of the admin efficiencies look good to you, but you've already purchased SolidWorks Desktop. We need to have a call about that, because there's some great opportunities for a value upgrade that's a price discount as opposed to buying, starting new with 3D Experience SolidWorks. So I guess the answer to the question is yes, you can upgrade, and right now is a really good time to be doing that.
Absolutely. All righty. Do you have any final closing words, Stephen?
No, well, yes. I said no, and then the answer is definitely yes. We have, so after this, we burned through this really fast. Is there, you mentioned email, is there going to be a location where people can, view this webinar after today?
Yes, so this will be uploaded, and in the follow-up email, we will include the link so you can rewatch this information if you'd like. And then we will include any additional information, a summary of what was included in this webinar, and then additional opportunity to contact us to set up a call, set up a demo, see these tools in person, and see what we can do for your business and how it can best work for you.
Yeah, and always interested in feedback and questions and potential topics for future discussions between Matt and I on 3D Experience, on SolidWorks, on CAD, on engineering. Just always interested in how we can provide value in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate any feedback you have on this webinar itself, or just on topics. As Stephen said, we'd love to hear what you guys want to hear about, as we'd like to tailor to you. So we're open to suggestions, and we'll create future content for you specifically.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone have a wonderful holiday season, and thanks for joining.